Oh, snizzity snap. We are back for this week's Motivate with EY. Sorry I missed you guys last week. Unfortunately, I was under the weather, wasn't feeling too good. Basically, just had a cold, nothing too serious. But it did come up into a sinus infection that is self-diagnosed. I know I'm not a doctor, but that's the way it goes. And so I got some antibiotics. And yeah, I feel much better now. I probably sound a little nasally, so I apologize for that. But that's just the way it is. So let's get started here this week. And in the past, starting from when I first started doing this podcast, I've always been talking about setting goals, overcoming obstacles, getting through the hard times and pushing through and all these different things. Well, today I'm going to talk about celebrating the wins and what do we do here when all the hard work finally pays off? And a couple things I want to touch on, but really I wanted to talk about this because it's been in my head lately. Some things have been going really well for me, and I've kind of broken through on a few different aspects of my life here. So I wanted to talk about it and really just kind of have something a little more upbeat and fun. So anytime that you're starting something new or you're learning something, a new skill, and really even starting a new job, you go into it, you don't always know what's going on, and it can be nerve-wracking, and a lot of times it's not fun, and you do it anyway because if it's a new job, obviously you want the paycheck and you want to be able to pay your bills. But it could be if it's a new skill, if it's a new it could just be a hobby that you're doing. It could be learning the musical instrument. It can be taking on anything that's going to require you to have kind of this learning curve, right? And you go through the hard stuff. Sometimes it's physical. A lot of the times, if not all the time, it's mental, it's emotional. And, you're setting the goals and you're pushing through and overcoming obstacles. And finally, you reach a point where it's like almost like you wake up one day and you're like, wow, I get it. And if it's, playing the piano, all of a sudden you sit down and the notes all kind of make sense to you, and you can look at the music and your hands just start moving along and playing the music, and you're thinking, wow, I feel like just yesterday I was struggling with this and I had to think about it. Now it's just second nature. It's become habit. For me, doing jiu-jitsu, I've been doing it almost exactly 4 years now. And I feel like just now I'm finally getting into this kind of groove where I feel comfortable. I feel like I have my own game within the jiu-jitsu world. And there's not many places where I feel afraid to be. I feel like I can maneuver and do the things I need to do to implement my game. And that's fun. It's a lot of fun for me. I have so many great training partners that have helped me get there. And so we all kind of celebrate together and through pushing each other and things. And in my career, I've always, I shouldn't say always, I've almost always, when I've started a new job with a new company, it's been a whole new industry for me. And so I've had to learn the industry, learn the customer base, learn, a lot of times it's been a different city or even state that I've lived in, or even a different region of the country. And I had to learn what it was like to work in Las Vegas. I had to learn what the industry was like in Southern California and all these other places. And at first you're struggling and you're trying to push through, and it's almost like every day you're wondering, am I going to make it? Is this really for me? Should I even be doing this? Should I go back to what's comfortable for me? Should I go back to, maybe if it's somebody, if you're one of those people, maybe you moved to a different town and you moved away from the one area you grew up in. There's always kind of that thought, should I move back home? And that's kind of the thought with a lot of things. I don't need to learn piano. What am I doing? I'm not going to be a professional musician. And so you give yourself all these reasons to almost talk yourself out of it. With the job, it's much more difficult to do that, to just walk away. But a lot of times we do. But really what I want to talk about this week is when you do push through, when you do just take it on full, head on full blast, and you say, I'm gonna make this happen for myself. and you do it and you get there. And it's almost like all of a sudden everything's clicking. Things are going great. My job, the same thing. I've had, a lot of ups and downs, and I'll continue to kind of have these ups and downs. I work in sales, and in sales, that's always kind of the case. But, it was a whole new industry for me when I first started. It was, once again, this month, it's 8 years ago. And when I first started, I literally thought I was going to be gone in a couple of months, and I stayed. The company's great. The owners take great care of me. And so, I finally hit this place now where things are clicking. I've solidified my spot within the company as long as I keep performing well. But along those lines, I feel like I know exactly what's expected of me, exactly what I should be doing. My days are pretty regimented. I know exactly what I should be working on day in and day out. I have a really solid schedule with it. I'm comfortable with what I got to do. I'm comfortable when I go out and meet different kinds of customers. I've met so many different kinds of people that I feel like I'm pretty much ready for just about anything. And everything's clicking nice. My performance is really, really at a high level there. I feel like my performance in the gym is at a really, really good, solid level. And just everything feels really good. It feels really nice. And when that happens, we got to celebrate these wins. You have to stop for just a little bit, not too long. Definitely don't want to do it too long, because that can be, I'll talk about that here a little bit later. But that can kind of be a detriment as well. But you definitely want to stop and give yourself a little bit of credit and say, hey, I've been trying to get here for so long, and I'm here. Recognize it. You want to stop and kind of smell the roses a little bit and think, this is great. I mean, this feeling, it's almost like, for me anyway, and I can't speak for anybody else, but it's like this high. You kind of get this like euphoric almost feeling where every day you wake up and, man, I'm feeling good. You got your days mapped out. You feel like you got everything's kind of clicking for you, and you work so hard to get to this level. And I think sometimes we don't always appreciate it, and we don't always give ourselves the credit that we're due, and saying, you know what, I got here, I did it, I got to this next plateau, because that's what it is. We will always want to keep pushing and moving forward, but when we get to this plateau, give yourself a pat on the back. Go buy yourself something nice if that's what you want to do for yourself. Maybe it's, for me, it's just recognizing the good feeling that I have, because I love this feeling. It's so important for me to continue to propel myself to keep going to the next level. And I've hit kind of smaller plateaus along the way, both with my career and with jiu-jitsu and things like that. But right now, this is probably one of the best that I've felt. And it's not just those two things. This is, my family's dynamic is amazing. Things are clicking there. We've overcome so many other obstacles together. So it almost seems like everything is just kind of clicking. And I want to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it for this time. I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. But I'm not going to get lackadaisical and rest on my laurels and say, okay, I don't have to work hard at all. I can just keep maintaining, because I don't want to maintain. I feel like if I give myself kind of that out to not push harder, I know myself and I get lazy. And I don't want that to happen. I've done that in the past. I've done it where I give myself too much credit. I think I'm the man, and I'm just walking around like I got it all figured out, and I get complacent. And when I do that, my performance starts to slip, my attitude slips, but in my head I almost think, but I'm doing everything I've always done. Why are things starting to fall now? Why are things not going as good as they were? Well, because I'm not really working as hard. I'm not doing all the things that I should be doing. When you're on this constant climb and you're pushing, like that's the pace that you set. So as you're going like this, if you stop doing that, you start dropping. It's almost kind of like I guess like a shark, right? When a shark has to keep swimming to keep going, because once it stops, it starts sinking to the bottom. Look, I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. But if not, I'm sure there's a certain kind of shark that you can just sit there and float. Whatever. You know what I mean. I'm just trying to give you an analogy to kind of help make it make sense. So I don't want to do that. I fall into that trap before. It's a pitfall. I know that I'm very, very aware of the fact that that can happen to me because I've done it before. So you want to stop? Well, I want to stop, celebrate the wins, give myself a good pat on the back, post something on social media, or share it with my friends and my family and the people that I love, and and just enjoy the good feeling, and then prepare myself mentally to get right back on that horse and start kicking ass again, start moving forward all the time. Because I have a lot more I want to accomplish. There's so much more I want to do, and B, I don't want to fall behind again. I don't want to get back to that place where, man, I was already up here and I dropped down a few levels and I have to work my ass off to get right back to where I already was. Doesn't make sense. And how do we do this? How do we keep this from happening? I think a couple things. I think, you don't kind of take yourself too seriously. You don't give yourself too much credit, and everybody's different. I may give myself, look at myself and give myself a good pats on the back and attaboy kind of thing, and then that's it, and I move on. Some people need a little bit more to keep that fire going. They need a little bit more, maybe affirmation from loved ones and friends and family and things. And if that's you, great. I mean, you got to figure out what it is for you that's going to keep that fire burning. But you don't want to throw, I don't want to use too many analogies. You don't want to do it too much and rest on your laurels too much, because your performance will start slipping. Your attitude will start slipping. You start thinking, I can do the same amount with less work. And that's not the case. That's not what got us to this plateau in the first place. We didn't get to this level by being lackadaisical, by sitting back and going, I can give a mediocre effort and that's going to be good enough. No, we've been pushing ourselves. We've been kicking ass. We've been waking up early, going to bed late, mapping out our schedules and doing all the hard work. We can't stop doing the hard work. So recognizing that that's what it is, that's what got us there, and not making changes to that. You have to make adjustments, obviously, as different obstacles come up, but the effort you put forth, the energy, the focus, the time, that has to stay, if not even more so. Maybe because now you're getting better at managing your lifestyle, managing your time. So then you have a little bit more time to focus more energy and put more on your plate so you can get yourself even further down the road. And we do that. Why? Because we want to hit another plateau and celebrate those wins when we get there. Give ourselves a pat on the back, understand what it is, and then, grab our stuff and head on out and get going again. I truly believe that's what's going to help all of us get to that next level. I know that's what's going to help me, because I notice when I look back at all the different pitfalls that I've done, that I've fallen into, it's because I've stopped. I wasn't moving forward anymore. I got complacent, and I didn't recognize what was going on in the moment. Now I'm preemptively trying to keep myself from thinking that way, from being that way. I shouldn't say try. I'm working on making sure that doesn't happen again by being mindful ahead of time and making sure that doesn't happen. So once again, I got my notes here. I want to make sure I cover everything for you guys. But yeah, definitely you want to enjoy that feeling of success, because I think without it, we'll end up losing the motivation to keep going. Because we figure, well, what's it all for? I can keep pushing, but if I don't enjoy what I'm doing and I don't enjoy the accolades when they come, what's the point? And you know what? You're right. That's exactly how I would feel. What's the point? If you are learning a new musical instrument, maybe you put yourself in a position where you're performing in front of people, and that's the accolades you get, and then you move forward and you take on more. For me, for work, I get with my bosses very consistently, and we evaluate where I am, my performance, not just my everyday performance of how I'm doing in the sales world, but managerially, just everything across the board. For jiu-jitsu, it's I do tournaments, and then you can kind of measure up and see how you're doing. You also see how you're doing. You go to other gyms and you cross train, and you see how you compare to some of their guys that may be at your level or even higher, and things like that. It's just everybody's different. But you really want to see where you are, test yourself, understand where you are, celebrate the wins, and then keep moving forward. Because I think we want to keep replicating. Got that feeling. Because for me, like I said in the very beginning, it's like a drug. It's a high of, man, I know I wanted to get here, but I didn't know if I was ever going to get here. And now I'm here. This is great. This is amazing. So I love that feeling. I'm sure many of you out there, you enjoy the things that you enjoy, and maybe getting to those next levels and plateaus in your journey is what helps propel you to keep going as well. I hope so. Always celebrate the wins. Always give yourself credit when you are doing a great job. But definitely, you don't want to stay there for too long, and you definitely don't want to take your foot off the gas pedal on that energy that's gotten you to this point. So, we don't want to forget either, as we're celebrating the wins, I feel like I like to look back and remember all the failures along the way, the small failures, the medium, and even the big failures along the way that got me to think differently, to get around the obstacles, that lit the fire underneath me, that told me I'm not giving up. I'm not going to quit right here. This is not my personality. I'm not going to let this thing beat me. And we learn about life. We learn about ourselves. We learn about our abilities and our capabilities through these different failures. And maybe failure isn't even the right word. I feel like there's so many words in the English language that we use that maybe it's just not the right term. But it's kind of what it is, right? You fall short of the mark, and at that point you have to kind of figure out a way around to get to where you want to go, to get to your next goal. So for lack of a better term, we'll just call it a failure for now. But all those little failures get you to where you want to be. I know, especially for me, with my personality and my strengths and my weaknesses, I cannot allow myself to not acknowledge when I have fallen short, when I failed, when I have not met the expectations of my employer, my family, and myself. Probably even most of all, myself. I have expectations of myself. And when I don't meet those expectations, I'm really hard on myself. And some people will say I'm too hard, but I think that's okay, because I know where my boundaries are. I know if I give myself too much credit, or if I give myself too much leeway when I fall short, it's bad for me. It gives me an excuse to not push. And I need that kind of negative reinforcement to keep pushing harder. So understand the failures are necessary to get where we want to be. I love that more and more these days that more successful people are sharing that those failures are essential to being successful. And whatever level of success it's going to be, we're all different. We all have our own journey. So I hope your failures are propelling you, lighting that fire underneath you to wake you up early the next day, to work harder that next day, and every day after that to keep moving forward. So I think the other thing too that the failures do, I know they do it for me, and I'm assuming they do it for probably a lot of you, is without that shitty feeling, that pit in our stomach of I didn't do it, I fell short, I didn't work as hard, and that's why I didn't win, and that's why I didn't perform as well, and that's why I didn't get the bonus, or whatever it is. And that cloud, that pit, for me it's like this pit in my stomach that just eats at me from the inside. That feeling is what makes this feeling that I have now, right now, this elation, this euphoric, intoxicating feeling that I have when we do celebrate those wins. It makes it feel that much better, because you're comparing it to that time when things were just dark and hard and nasty, and you did it to yourself, and you were just because of that feeling, this feeling is so much better. It's so much more beautiful. It's so much brighter. Everything tastes better. Everything looks more amazing. That's what I think. So that is the message. Celebrate the wins, not for too long, but give yourself the credit where it's due and keep kicking ass. Don't take that foot off the pedal. I promise you, you'll regret it. Keep that foot going, and it's going to be amazing. So I hope you're out there hitting those plateaus, getting those wins, celebrating, kicking butt. Go buy yourself something nice, whatever it takes, and just enjoy. Because we're all going to look back one day, and I hope we look back and say, I did it. I did all the things I wanted to do. I tried things, I failed, I had success, and I don't have any regrets. That's the number one. I don't want to have any regrets. I want to enjoy this whole ride. So that is the message. Thank you all for listening. I got some cool guests coming up here over the this next month here in March. We got Antonio Lopez coming back for part 2. We're going to talk about more stuff, jiu-jitsu stuff, life stuff, family stuff, work stuff. He's got so many great things going on. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Excuse me. I also have another gentleman coming on who I follow on Instagram. This guy has a weight loss journey unlike most of us will ever know. And he's doing it day in and day out. He hasn't hit his goals yet, but I want to talk to him about it and what his days are like and how he got started. It's going to be amazing. And he's excited about doing it. So I'm super excited because I know what my journey's been like, and it's nothing like what he has to overcome. So I think everyone's going to enjoy that one. It's going to be amazing as well. And I got a few more guests in mind, and I got to reach out to some people. So a lot of cool stuff going on. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for Motivate with EY. And thank you for staying with me, even though I missed last week for being sick. But I was pumped to come back and do it again. So have a great week. We'll see you guys soon. I love you all. Thank you.